Like,
You know, you always push those
to
buttons
sign
and you
on.
just hope that it, like, happens. This is before. Hello, council member.
I think it's streaming even though it gave me that error message. Here, let me go back here. Ouch. Yeah, it says we're live, so we're good.
All right, 5:33, we'll call the meeting to order. Show everyone present except for Sylvia and Annette were excused. And, looking for approval of the minutes, I would entertain a motion. Do we have one?
I'll move to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second. Alan with the first, and Vito with the second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, unanimous approval. Is there anyone here for public comment? No public comment? And so we will go on to our first presentation for tonight, and we have an Eagle Scout presentation from Charlie Jensen. Come on up.
Do you wish me to stand up here or over there?
Wherever you're most comfortable. Or is it something for the video that she needs to be on? A better spot for her to stand?
If you want to come towards the front, if that's easier, you can point to things, and then, will you be controlling her slides, or does she have to?
I can let you do that.
So, hello, I am Charlie Jensen, and, well, it says Sarah because that is my first name, but I go by Charlie. So, hello, and my presentation is on my request to have an Eagle project at Fort Silicon.
Press enter will take the next slide.
Right. So my proposal is to install markers for the major turns at Fort Silicon. And there are going to be 10 critical turns that I will be putting 10 turns at, because they are critical to country club, big cross-country club. Oh, okay. Sorry. This will benefit the community for the cross-country club, because since the maintenance team, they now, they used to mow where the path was going to be for the cross-country club, but now for safety reasons, they mow the whole entire place. So therefore, the cross-country club runners do not know where they are going to be running. This also benefits my school, which I recently had figured out, that they actually have run that same track, so it also benefits my school. It will also benefit the environment, so the cross-country club, now that once they will know where all their turns are, they won't cross over different environments for the animals and plants. So the planning details from my planning process, of course I had to come up with marking ideas, I had to come up with the skills required for making the markers, and then I also had to make a timeline, I had to budget, and then of course come up with the final design. Here were the original marker designs that I had made. My first design that I had made was a log with an arrow, where it was just a piece of log with other branches stuck into it on the ground, which it wasn't that big, it was really small, and in my original idea, it would be easy to remove, go over, and put back. But what I did not consider was how easily the cross-country runners would be able to see it. So my next idea, which after talking with Jay Anderson, I was able to get this idea where it would be one wood plank, which was carved in carved into it was a arrow, which was also painted white, so it was easier to see. It would be 2 square steel sign poles, also called telespars, posted into two anchors. Now, there's a difference between, the original design was 2 nut and bolt and 2 pins per side. Here are examples for the materials that I'll be using I'm going to be using for my design, which this is going to be the piece of wood. It is not going to be carved exactly like that, but that is an example of the piece of wood. Here is the square steel sign pole, and then here is the ink. Here is more examples of materials. Here is the wood I'll be using. Here is different anchors that are usually used for signs. Now my final proposed idea, so there was a little bit of change to it, but it's easy talk for me, is the design, of course, is going to be 2 these square steel sign poles that are going to be screwed into the pieces of wood and then just put into the anchor. The sign will then be posted, of course, into the anchors. The anchors will be cemented into the ground 9 inches into the ground. And this way, the signs will be easily removed. That way, the maintenance team can mow the area, mow the grass, and also, in case of some sort of accident, they can be easily removed. Skills required, there's going to be using of power tools, of course, a router, human auger, and a drill. Those will be used by adult hands, since according to Scout rules, us youth are not allowed to use power tools. So that will be used by the adults. There's going to be using hand tools, a post hole digger, wrenches, and screwdrivers. Those will be used by us youth, because in the rules to safe scouting, we are allowed to use manual tools, but no power tools. And then we also will be working with cement and painting, which, of course, to be safe, we will be using goggles, work gloves to just be safe, of course. My timeline, from 11 to the 30th of September, I had asked for, I went to different companies and asked if they would be willing to donate to the project in case it is going to be approved by you all. Then the 19th, which actually this was changed to 29th, and also the 25th is going to be changed. It is, of course, for the 26th of September, aka today. The city of Lakewood, of course, you all would imaginarily approve the project, and then from afterwards until like next week, sometime between now until like next Monday, I'm going to meet up with the last person I need to ask to finally get this whole thing approved. And after that, from 1 to the 7th of October, I'm going to have the signs routed, get the arrows carved into the pieces of wood. From 9th to the 15th, that's when we're going to be painting the arrows of the signs. From the 21st of October and the 22nd of October, we're going to be digging holes and then installing the anchor. Then, of course, the 28th, we're going to put signs together and then, of course, install the signs. And then the 28th of November, I will do a final report to all of you. Budget. So, we're not going to do any cash donations, but I have received donations from Zumar Industries, and I also have received donations from Home Depot. And then everything else I already have. Funds will be managed. The material donations will be kept safely in my garage and will only be used for the project. Then, who will be helping in the project is the Girl Scouts, because I am in Girl Scouts and in Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, DSA Scouts, my troop, friends, and family. Now, thank you, and any more questions?
Sorry, I have, on the installation date, that's actually a cross-country run that day.
Oh, it is?
So, yeah, just, we would need more coordination on that.
All right. Yes?
I have a few questions. On your sign arrow,
Right.
I'm imagining that when it's cross-country season, I'm totally unaware that it's cross-country season when I see arrows. Maybe you want to consider also putting a silhouette of a runner or something that explains to the ignorant public that this is where people run.
Right.
Just so we can hear. And then how many weeks are these actually on display? Put them in, and they take them out, right?
Yes, so during this cross-country season, they will be installed into, of course, the trail, and then once it is no longer cross-country season, we're going to be removing.
Well, when does cross-country start?
Well, I believe it starts somewhere in September. Only reason I know this is because they talk about it in my school announcements of when cross-country season ends. I'm not really sure.
Okay. So I guess I'm wondering about the things in the grass that they're going to be being thrown over and mowed and everything. How easy are they to find these?
Well, we could, well, I can actually, with this, I can just put, like, maybe little flags to put in them, right next to the acres to make sure that we know where the acres are.
Maybe you want to think about a map.
Yeah, and we will also
have that.
Yeah.
You can GPS locate them as well, so create a map and ping them, and so that you can find them in it.
Have you talked to cross-country coaches who use the course?
Yes, I have contacted cross-country course,
Probably
Joe Clark, he worked with us at the beginning.
Yeah.
thinking of the arcs, runners pass, and the course is back, so they're kind of like stop signs aren't right on the edge of the street.
Yeah, you might think about plugs for those when you pull them to keep the dirt out and,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
some
one of
longevity.
the tools that we will be using. When we pull them out, we will be putting
They'll
plugs.
find it when you're done too.
Yeah.
Will be at a low grade.
So the wood for the signs, is that a special type of wood for signs?
It's going to, I forgot to put it in here, but it is going to be it's going to be weather treated, and it's going to be, I think, I don't know what it was, but,
Stained or?
it is going to be
treated
stained, yes,
somehow?
stained, and then weather treated.
Yeah, I have that same comment about plugs for the sign.
Yeah.
Now, are the anchors gonna stay there? They're gonna stay there?
Yes, because,
And are they gonna stick up, or are they gonna be too great?
well, they are going to be,
So they're not a tripping hazard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay talked to
mower,
it. Yeah, for mowing.
Not only is it just, the Lakes, or Clover Park School District that's running cross-country there, they also have regional meets, right? Are they gonna use these signs?
I believe so, yes.
And it's the same course?
Same course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 5K course.
When it's the same distance,
Yeah, right.
there are
Several.
college and youth
Yep.
are different.
So, any more questions?
Just a couple things. Stephanie, I didn't know if you're...
Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to add anything or not. But Jay Anderson did ask Charlie to make a design change, so that instead of them sticking up, they will now be flush, and we're also adding caps. And the park department is in charge of when they're removed and when they're in.
Yeah.
That's not I want to make that clarification.
Yeah.
I was just gonna add a couple things. One is, maybe part of this project would be, like working with Joe Clark, because he's the keeper of the
Right.
universe when it comes to cross-country, is informing the other schools. Joe keeps his equipment there and loans it out to all the different teams, so just so they know that that's available. The second thing is that, probably one of the things we'd want to do, in advance of your work team is to do a little inadvertent discovery. Since it's a historic site, we'll want to maybe just do a little, so that it, as you're putting these little posts in, just make sure that if anybody found anything or saw anything, that they were just aware of the historic nature of that area,
Right.
and we can help you with that. And then the third thing is that once this is in, I know we talked about, the regular cross-country season, but if we were to do, some kind of a run from December through February, that it might be something that you wanna participate in, where you could put those out and kind of see them on a community base, as
Right.
opposed to just, something to think about.
Any more questions?
Being said, any further discussion for the board?
I think it's a great project.
Yep.
The one thing that you did comment, maybe I heard right, is you're gonna store these signs, or they're gonna be stored at, for,
They're gonna be stored with the cross-country club.
Okay.
The materials before I make them, the materials to make them will be stored in my garage.
Oh,
After they're made and after they're put in place, I will not be in charge of those.
I mean, you're 35 years old and you're coming back to put those back in.
Thank you. And I'm sure Jay covered this, but if you're anywhere locate is what I'm concerned about, just because you don't want to dig and hit a electrical line or
Right.
something like that. And so I'm sure Jay thought about it, but.
There's a scarcity of utilities, though.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm not too concerned there, but, they got a dig law now, so you better call them before you dig.
Do we need to make a recommendation that, this project move forward with some minor modifications?
Second that.
Okay, we got a first and a second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. Yeah, unanimous approval of your project. Nice job, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Great presentation.
With that,
Sure. And so next on the agenda, we have Weston here to talk about the non-motorized transportation plan.
Good evening, I'm Weston Ott with Public Works Department. Nikki's getting the presentation up right now.
Almost done.
No, not quite all right. So while she's getting that put together, this is just a high-level overview of the update city's non-motorized, plan. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to as an active transportation plan, but the city stuck with non-motorized plan, if that's what we use.
Can you just tell, when was the last plan done?
Yeah, thank you. So it was in 2009.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, so that first bullet. So the city did a very robust plan in 2009. And that plan, was a well-done plan, and time went on, and I have a slide that talks about why we were able to use that plan for so long. But something to be very proud of, here we were in 2022, and the city had added about a third of sidewalks since 2009. So we're over 70 miles of sidewalk. You know, 2009 we were 52. I can't tell you what it was at a corporation, but as you can see, a lot of construction going on in the city. So it was time to update the plan. So those are some of the reasons behind that. The other thing is Lakewood's put a huge investment into our capital infrastructure. We've done very well on grants. We all pay, I'm a Lakewood resident too, so you hear me say we, but you know, we pay our transportation benefit district $20 car tabs. Council bonded that, and that was able to bring about a whole bunch of great projects over the next years. We needed to incorporate that into the plan. As time goes on, standards change, language related to non-motorized plan, it's now called active transportation plan. Those things changed, so the plan was updated, related to that. We did do a survey. This was kind of the end of COVID, so, you know, life was a little different during COVID, so we did an online survey that went really well. We did have 205 responses, which may not sound like a whole lot, but after doing surveys and public meetings, 205 is a fairly good response. So there was that presentation back to the planning commission. That's why I'm back here. He's smiling. Is there something?
No, I was
Okay.
we were talking about surveys.
Oh, yeah.
Great job.
No, I wasn't sure if something was.
No.
It's a bug, don't worry.
So, that's why I'm back here tonight, because I came and I talked to the Parks Board and said, hey, can you help us get the message out on the survey? We really appreciated that. We were given a lot of contacts. I can't quote chapter and verse, but I was amazed at how many contacts, different bike clubs, different clubs and organizations. So every one of those groups were emailed that, hey, here's the survey, here's how you get to it. Seemed like we were telling that message to quite a few people. As you can see in the bullet, there was the option of multiple languages, and we actually kept it open for a little more than 3 weeks, but we ended up with 205 results. And there's quite a few questions as part of that survey. And that survey is in the back of the plan update, so here's a copy of the plan update, and in the back of it, the appendices are the surveys themselves. I don't know if it'd be distracting to pass it around at the time. I have it, it's available on the city's website. I have it here.
It's on the city's website, digitally.
Yes, yep. And it's, you'll find it under the Public Works Engineering page and under Reports and Documents. And there's a couple different ways to get to that tab through the Public Works Engineering page. But just look for Reports and Documents, or type in the search, non-motorized transportation plan, and you'll find the 2009 plan and the update. And the two go together. Because again, the scope of work was just to update it. It wasn't a full rewrite. Because the original plan was a big lift. There was
I still have it in my office.
Yes, exactly.
I have it in mine too.
And what's
was
funny is
well done.
I left mine on my desk when I
Yeah.
walked down here. You know, it has my name on it, and I don't let anybody, get it back. So this isn't, I don't want to say an addendum, but it's in addition to the 2000.
That was, survey was in March.
Correct. And it was open for about a month. So why was the plan able to last as long as it did? If we're honest, Lakewood is fairly well built out. We've only extended one road, 123rd over Spring. That was kind of a gravel path from where 123rd ended off Bridgeport Way, and then 47th, it was gravel down there. We put that road through. That's really the only new road we've built in Lakewood other than flat development that have new roads with. Our populations has gone up, but it's still fairly stable. And the other thing is capital projects take time. It takes a while to get the money, to do the design, to get the right-of-way, all those steps that we all know. But it was definitely time for an update. So I just picked one of the slides from the survey, and so the blue, red, and green are kind of like your gold, silver, and bronze. So red was your first, or blue was your first choice, red was your second choice, and green was your third. And you can see the first one that was, the big blue bar at the top is new and or better sidewalks. So while we've done a lot of work in Lakewood, there's still work to be done. Really want to see more sidewalks. The next one, which you see, which is the red bar, is pretty good size, is about trails. And I think that just reflects a lot of people in Lakewood do like to rec. They like to get out. And we had a question about, basically, what do you like to do when you go out? A lot of people like to go out and exercise. That was a large portion of the response. But bike facilities also showed up as a fairly good size second bar in red you see right below it. And then there was some that different reasons as you got down. The only one that was a little anomaly was the very bottom one. It says additional street lighting. Well, Lakewood is very well lit. Not making any jokes. I gotta laugh. But anyway. No, in all seriousness, we have done a lot in the way of street lighting and continue to do so. We have a few projects upcoming. So that was the only little bit of anomaly, so to keep our fingers on the pulse for that reason. But I just picked one of the surveys that showed, because again, this is just a kind of an overview of the overall plan. So this was our pedestrian plan, and there's a whole lot of colors up there. It's a bit of an eye test, but the blue is what's already built, blue and the green. The red that's solid, that's what's planned. So when I say we have the TBD and grant funds, and again, this is as if you were in late 22, early 23. the city continues to get other grant projects, things that are coming up. The dashed lines are the unfunded portion, and I think I have a slide of just those, there. So that kind of gives you a feel for what's going on in Lakewood. You start looking at that, and you can see it's starting to come together.
Maybe we can look at this.
Yeah, I see it's hidden behind there.
I put that out, yeah.
Here, I'll give you
Look
the
at
slide.
you.
Right there. Yeah.
Wow.
So you'll see some of the sidewalk that maybe wouldn't be what we would build today, but it's currently there until it can be shown. So the city has kind of kept up on our GPS or our locating of all our infrastructure, and in '22 we finished all that locating of the improvement. Your pedestrian ramps, your sidewalks, everything that would go into non-motorized plan. But again, the one thing maybe I should have said early on, this is really you could count it as a living document. It seems like every day something's changed. Either we're building something, we get another grant. So as time goes on, this will again have to be updated. We'll never have everything built, sidewalk on every street, and that may not be appropriate. So this is if I pulled out just what is funded to date. But if I look at that, I can see on the kind of middle left, there's a little bit of Military Road, and I know we put in a grant application for transportation improvement. So again, this slide could be, that piece could get colored in, the solid red one on the previous slide, come the end of the year if we're successful in that grant. Again, there'll always be some slight changes as time goes on, but if you took a snapshot when the plan was updated, this is the portion of unfunded related to pedestrian. This is very similar for bicycles, and again, a little bit of an eye test, but the thing to notice here really is when we think of, how we think of bicycle facilities has really changed. I think everyone here might be familiar with the term Sharrow, where you don't have the dedicated bicycle lane, the cycle track or separated bike path. But we're also physically constrained on how much right-of-way we have. Some roads are still slated as sharing the road, where other ones, you've seen some of the wide sidewalk being built on Veteran, Washington being completed, Onyx, Beverly Lake, Lakewood Drive from Silicon up to Custer. So there's quite a few places that we've built some wide sidewalks in addition to what we've built cycle. So let's see if I can get some of these colors. The purple is the bike lane, the orange is shared use path, the brown is Sharrow. The kind of pink salmon colors, a shoulder greater than 5 feet. The blue is a shoulder less than 5 feet, and the green is the wide sidewalk. And again, I know it's a bit of an eye test from where you're sitting, but it's all in the plan. It shows that. Kind of with that, I'm at the summarizing point. Again, I told you this is kind of a quick overview. So the update's complete. It's on the website. Everything since 2009 has been put in there, everything we've built. It also aligns with our capital improvement plan as well as our transportation improvement plan, what's funded, what isn't funded, what we'd like to do. Everything's updated to our current standards. And I should have said at the beginning, we also brought in a consultant to help us. Same consultant that was involved in the original plan. There was some tie there, different staff, or some of the staff, a tie there, so we had some help. And then those photos are two of the recent projects that were done. I mentioned Onyx, Veteran. Today I was out on Veterans having lunch at the Mexican restaurant out there and talking with a public works director from another jurisdiction. He was asking me about these wide sidewalks at Lakewood building in there. Why do we do it? Well, we do it because we want people within the age and the ability to be able to use that sidewalk, the bicycle and walk. Knowing that those that are more experienced bicyclists, they're going to stay in the road regardless of what people are out there. But it definitely makes especially like veterans, a lot more enjoyable to walk down going through the park. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know it's kind of a 10,000
I want to go back to the slide that shows your, planned or your funded section of sidewalks.
Sidewalk.
There you go,
Right
oops, well, either one of these will work. There's one little piece to me that is a glaring oversight for us. And that is the end of Phillips Road
Yep.
is a block and a half down to the Chambers Creek Trail. To connect all of Lakewood to the Chambers Creek Trail.
Right, so that's this piece here that's shown as unfunded.
Right.
And then you have
That-
that part
that-
where it gets really narrow. So I live at Oak Brook, I've
Yeah.
walked that many times. I've talked a little bit with our director about that, and we haven't come up with an idea of what that section
I know it
would look
represents
like.
some engineering.
Yeah, 'cause it's so,
right away.
so narrow, so, and what should it look like?
Yeah.
That's the other question.
I just happen to be working very diligently in the South Sound Wildlife area where we've done some paved trails up there. We've got some new trails coming in. The sidewalks are there now.
Right.
It's a natural connection to get to that trail. And we've added 18 parking spots in the wildlife area now, which can be parking
Trailhead.
spots for that trailhead too, ultimately.
This is Onyx, right?
That's zircon and
Or
onyx.
zircon, I mean zircon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the green and the red dashed are all the zircon onyx.
So one of the things, Alan, is that there will be a trail access right on
In the middle.
Zircon, so
It is.
across from the golf course area. So whether, you might be more challenged to get down to Phillips, because it is kind of less of a regular area,
Right.
arterial, but maybe that connects to this, and then you can go that way or that way once you get down into the trail. So that could be a solution for that, to at least get the access onto the trail, and that should get started early next year, to be done by the end of next year. And then I just wanted to make a point that the legacy plan, which is our 6-year park CIP as well as our strategic plan, does refer to this document, or the most current of the, whatever this document is, as our trail and bike system, plan. So they link that way as well.
I have kind of a small monkey wrench in the throat. Could you do the one that shows dated one?
Oops, am I going the wrong way or the right way?
That way, okay.
The bike plan?
Bike system, right. So, the purple line is, down low is Washington, correct? That current project is
Yeah.
complete.
So here's the parallel Veterans Washington. We did this first knowing that when we did this one, we could get traffic on Veterans.
So, where the purple line, west terminus, right there, the distance between there and the access to North Fork.
Yes.
What's the status of that?
That, oops, going the wrong way. So you're talking this piece, this little piece at Edgewood, or this piece that cuts
From
the Northgate Road?
Washington to,
Washington, Edgewood, Northgate?
Northgate Road.
Yeah, so I believe that's all built.
It is? Okay.
Yeah,
It didn't show on the other one.
yeah, so if that didn't show,
So,
yeah.
the one that was in purple, it didn't show.
Edgewood, yeah. I know it's correct on the PED plan.
Because the link between Lakewood at that
Oh,
point
you're right,
and
it doesn't
DuPont
show up, does it?
is funded. So, it's not really on the radar right now, but had a deal with JBLM.
Right.
They wanted to get rid of the bike path down the freeway, because they weren't gonna give
Correct.
up the housing area and everything Boston wanted. And they pushed the trail back to phase 4 of the project, and they said, we don't have enough money. Then they did have enough money, then the legislature plussed it up. So they got over $20 million funded, and there's no right-of-way acquisition if we do it right. But the problem is, and I'd love to say this is a non-motorized path between two cities on federal land, funded by the state, to be built by the county. What could go wrong?
Yeah, what could go wrong? Exactly.
So, yeah, so it's as recently today, I talked to Stabulum Public Works today. Nobody from the county had contacted them. The county public works people say that, well, we're still trying to work out with the state how they're gonna pass the money, and then we're through our third set of project people at WashDOT, because they keep turning over. We'll have that by the end of the year. Then we'll start planning, but they have to make sure that when they get to the end, that big army can sign off, so. Gonna
Lot
get
of moving
everybody
parts,
together.
yeah.
But it's slated to be a 2024 project, but that
Yeah,
That-
that piece is missing there. Yeah, it
that
should
needs
be-
to dovetail
yeah.
into Lakewood.
I have a note on there.
Get it on, I don't know what side of the road it's gonna go on.
I have an obscure question. Is there a database of crosswalks that are connecting sidewalks across, busy materials, or just a database of that?
So it's in the GIS database, so I'm trying to think, you would be looking at like, let's just use 112th and Bridgeport as an example. We built a piece of 112 from Bridgeport north. Friday Street, I think it is. And we have the south piece that is funded through System Access Fund. You would say like a database that would show that crossing there?
Either signalized or unsignalized. I'm just thinking, like, for example, across Main Street, there's a bunch of curb cuts, and it's just unsafe to cross at times because it's not very obvious, or I'm
The
just
one right
wondering
out
if...
here in front of City Hall.
No, I wanna go
I've
eat
talked-
lunch at Chipotle, I'm not gonna drive across the street.
I can sympathize with your
But I've
challenge,
also
I have the
driven-
same one.
I drive up, 108th, and I've seen people trying to cross with like a stroller, for instance, and
Right.
that's just a long distance, and I'm just wondering about, considerations to safe public crossings in certain areas.
Yeah, and that's a great question. I can tell you the one that's coming up is at, Pine and 84th, and that's currently being designed. So, having some additional crossings, that would be something that go in the 6-year tip and go through the, from the tip to the CIP, to get funded, and how it's funded and move forward, and that's kind of some of that, it feels like glacial movement of capital projects, but that's a good question. Projects managers and the
And there's real specific
Something to look at.
criteria about crosswalks as well, correct? Like you can't just
Correct.
put them in every single spot that there's a crossing, there's some,
The term is warranted, we use the
Warranted.
term warranted, yeah, and I can just tell you, this is opinion, I'm a little bit nervous of painting a crosswalk, because then that gives the pedestrian the feeling that, you can just step out in traffic. I personally like to protect that pedestrian with something flashing or something, controlled with cars.
we think,
I think there's some pretty good statistical data on the whole security issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Paint without signalization actually can make things worse.
Right. Doesn't seem like people stop for any easier out here when you're standing in
Right.
the walk, unfortunately, but. Yeah, so that's something we can, 108th is a good example. Where to cross, I know with the System Access Fund, we were looking at some specific streets that's related to the station district, where you would go from 112 up to where you come up would also be a logical signalized or protected crossing across 108th. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll talk it over a little bit with Public Works Director and Projects Manager.
we'd love to see also if, when it's warranted to put in a crosswalk, that maybe we could jazz some of them up in certain locations, like, music notes in front of a theater, or flowers and bugs in front of a park, or something to kind of, give more of an attention to, the experience for people driving, but also just, public art, cheap public art.
So like the signal cabinet wraps.
Like signal cabinet wraps,
Yeah.
exactly. It would be nice to be able to do with certain crosswalks, and we understand you know, there's reasons that stripes are this way on crosswalks and not this way, 'cause you drive over them and they don't wear down so fast.
Right.
You know, you'd be aware of maintenance issues associated, which is a big fear, I'm sure, once you build something, people expect it to be perfect forever. So, you know, that could be, part of the equation too, but, you know, there's
Yeah, if
probably
there
ways
was
of
room
doing
in the
that.
right of way, I mean, I think that would be fun.
I
From
do
a
too.
community standpoint, it's like, yeah, cross over at the big glass ball or.
Right, or
you know, like,
follow the
yeah.
bumblebees to the
Right,
park, yeah.
right.
So, anyway,
Yeah.
we're open to that too.
Bloomberg did a big study on the pavement painting and all of that, so like education benefits and all of that, so.
Good.
How about in this, plan, how does the ADA upgrades or
Yeah.
priorities, where does that land in your plan?
I wonder if it got buried
And
under.
do you have a current audit of your EDA needs?
Did I put it here? I thought I had it in, I've done a few presentations, so I think it's in one of my other ones. So the ADA transition plan is actually in process right now. So we hired a company, Al King, whose company is King, I can't remember something, and he's currently working on that. We're at the very beginning of the ADA plan, and that plan is focused just on the transportation side. It's not like a citywide. That would be a big undertaking, but transportation started.
And does that fold into like where all the elementary schools are and all the schools, the Clover Park School
Right.
District, how do they fold into that need?
Yeah, and that gets into kind of the philosophical side of managing your infrastructure. Okay, let's say I have a ramp that's 8.33% coming down, it's 7% or something. Do I replace that one to hit the ADA 8.33, or do I leave that one alone and go put a ramp somewhere where they're... Those are kind of questions yet to be answered, but definitely it's just like your own house or your own car, how you would maintain it, certainly get priority.
ADA transition plan?
Well, we are, that's exactly what we're developing right now, yeah. So I don't have an ETA for completion, but yeah, it's in
It's
process.
not a small task.
Yeah, but a big lift of it was part of what helped us do the non-motorized plan update was doing the inventory of everything we have. And we had our inspectors literally go out with, we call them smart levels. They're like levels that read out slope on the ramps, and they measured them out. So it took them a little while, but we have to do it in the winter time when construction's.
I just wanna address the art. Once, I live, over by American Lake, and we love those veterans sidewalks. So we put in a community garden over there. And one of the activities we had in this community garden was a chop the walk activity on the sidewalks, because we love the sidewalks. And so we went out and kids wrote happy messages so that people walking could see it, and of course, it didn't begin, but it was chop the walk. You might want to consider the stuff to do
Yeah.
on the sidewalk.
We do that at some events at the park, so,
Chop the walk,
but it's fun.
Yeah.
That's for the triathlon too, people were writing notes of encouragement as people were heading from transition areas and doing some things like that, so, yeah.
So again, the plan is on the website, they need.
We could send a link.
Yeah,
We
exactly, we
send
can
a link.
email a link, and I
Yeah.
probably should have had that as a handout, but.
That's okay, we can send
Anyhow,
it.
we can definitely do that. You can Google it on the website as well.
Job well
Answer
done.
any other questions?
No, thanks for
Email
your
me
work.
if you, yep. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Keyboard.
And is that your sacred plan that you have your name on that no one can have, or can I have that to just have?
Oh, I see what Mary.
You have my page.
No,
Oh, no, not that,
I know.
that one. I didn't know how many you had, so.
I have
didn't
one.
see your name.
Now I have another.
Is this really one?
I'll print another one.
Oh, you printed it, that's fancy.
I will take care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have mine,
Thanks for
I have
having us.
some posters
Thank you for
hanging
the
out
help
of it and
on the
stuff.
survey.
Excellent.
All right, next topic on the agenda is park signs, including wayfinding and reader boards.
Oh, Nessa's here, that's great. Hi, Nessa, I didn't see you on there. Do you want to do an intro, Stacy? You want me to do an intro?
I can do a brief intro. We have Matthew and George with Tangram Designs, who have been supporting our city, or our park sign design, redesign, as well as the wayfinding for the park system and the, Fort Slocum new entry, design. And so they've worked on a presentation, presented it to our design committee, and interpreted some additional comments and revised that for our presentation tonight, and including our design committee's feedback of that initial presentation. So, Matthew, I believe, are you going to be presenting the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I should be able to share. So let me.
And just as a note, with the stakeholder group that worked with them included Vito as your representative from the park board. We had maintenance staff, we had economic development staff, we had chamber represented, and then public works, the council, and communication. So it was a pretty broad group of folks that had different connections to what either park sign or wayfinding might be. So it was a really good team with good information, and so way to go, Matthew.
Awesome. Can everybody see the screen all right? Good. Okay, cool. Well, my name is Matthew DeLay. We're Tangram Design. And we've been working, like they said, we've been working on the concept designs for the park identification and wayfinding signage. So we'll just hop into it and give you guys a little bit of background on project criteria and design committee feedback. Just for project criteria to start things off, for the RFP, for developing these items for the identification signs, we were given a budget, working with the design for a budget that shall not exceed $30,000 per sign. The design shall reference the current city gateway monuments and the kiosk monuments recently constructed at Fort Slocum Park. Looking for a neutral color palettes were preferred, a scalable design that could work in different environments and placements. That was it within the RFP. Then when we did our site survey or site visit, can you see it?
Oops. Yeah, my slides aren't rolling.
Can you guys see that? Is it rolling with you?
On your cover, we're still on your
It's still on the cover
presentation.
sheet.
Okay, I don't know why that's doing that. Let's try something. Is that better?
Yep, we can see it.
You see it now?
Yeah.
Well, it says project criteria and design committee feedback.
Okay. You see the next slide now?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, so I'm not sure what happened there. I'll just kind of talk about what I talked about over real quick. With the RFP, when we were given the project, some of the criteria was the budget shall not exceed $30,000 per sign. Design shall reference the current city gateway monuments and the kiosk monuments recently constructed at Fort Slocum Park. Looking for a neutral color palettes for preferred and scalable design. Then during our site visit, we did a site evaluation of all the different parks and park identification signs and met with different members of the city. We gathered feedback that they looking for signage that was easy and economical to maintain, durable, and also looking for the designs to include city brand colors. As you can see on the right, we did some initial with the older city logo colors, and we some of the future stuff updated for the current brand refresh. So yeah, we'll show you some of that. For the park signage concept development, first thing is looking at that new brand that Lakewood's going through, looking at the typography that's used, the logos, and additionally the color palettes that we're tasked with. So before it was kind of the green and blue, very vibrant, neon almost. Now it's more of a toned down blue. So looking at how we could incorporate that.
Oh,
Also looking at the different.
I've got a comment up from council on that. Green and blue was actually adopted in code. Communications department decided to make it black and white and announced that a new rounding happened. council has not acted on that. I, for one, council member, am opposed to the process that took place. So I wouldn't raise any alternatives.
So you're saying this,
Yeah,
we shouldn't
basically,
proceed with,
staff went rogue.
so we shouldn't be presenting this brand? Is that what you're saying?
If the city code still has the, blue and green, seal as the city logo. And that hasn't been changed and has to be changed by council. It may be changed.
Yeah. Well, and I think for this presentation, you'll see we're talking about, size and shape and we can always update the colors a bit if we feel like they need to be modified, so. I think we're going in the right direction though, but that's good to know because I hadn't heard that piece of the branding update, so.
Okay, well, just a heads up, this is all gonna be, a lot of the designs and all these colors are gonna be influenced by these, so just take that, with consideration as we move forward with this.
Yeah, Matthew, I think the concern was about the logo mark. So I think we're fine. Let's just stay with these colors and let's go on with our presentation. I think the comment was about the logo mark.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then we also looked at the different park environments, and the materials, different elements, colors, and also size and area placement for the signs and how they get influenced. Also looking at just, looking for more of a progressive and modern look with the signage and, looking at Pacific Northwest architecture and some of the modern elements, shapes and forms and materials that were used and seeing if that could be influenced in the designs in any manner. So to show you the concepts, the first concept focuses on the brand and natural elements and materials. This one kind of has a little bit of an influence from the Service Club sign, looking at the arch top, again with some perforated background. This helps with a lot of vandalism and maintenance. If there's not a solid surface, they really aren't going to deface or mess with it. So having a perforated background helps with maintenance and longevity. Using the blue colors from the brand and then picking up on the wood that gives that sort of natural earth tone palette. We also had some symbols on the front of the sign that show the activities that would be within that park, including the logo mark on the top here, and then also just different shapes and sizes to show these different elements can be placed in different areas based on the space available for the park sign to be placed. And then these are some of the wayfinding signs, kind of carrying that similar shape and form from the identification signs, and then using symbols as well on the wayfinding themselves. We also have some, black connectors on the wood here, picking up on that Pacific Northwest architectural connections that we found. Here's a couple examples of the signs in the environment. And here's a 3D form of the sign design. So looking at some wood posts, clamping the panels in there, and makes for a lot of an ease of maintenance and updating if necessary to the panels. Second concept also picks up on brand and natural elements, using the wood post again and looking at the Pacific Northwest sort of architectural connections. The shape and angle of the panel is influenced by the logo and the shape of the mountains. Again, looking at the blue brand color and including symbols that show activities within the park. Here's the wayfinding, picking up on a similar shape and form, but using more solid panels so that information can be placed on there. These would be vinyl. Again, so that's something that's would be easy to replace if necessary. Here's the signs in the environment. And here's a 3-dimension, the shape and form of the sign. This one has a circular perforation rather than square on the first one. Concept 3, again, focusing on the brand and sort of natural elements. Looking at more of a solid base with a sort of a wavy pattern on it, looking at possibly concrete or something like that, or aluminum, I think whatever could be used there. Picking up on that wood again on the middle there, and then the blue to give it that natural earthy tone look and feel and connect to the brand. And picking up on that waves, that for the lakes and things like that, we're emphasizing that in the shape of the panel at the bottom, giving it slight wave, and to show a visual connection between the park identification signs and the wayfinding. There's the signs of the environment. And then there's just some three-dimensional shapes and forms. And this concept 4 is the last sort of focus on the brand and natural elements, looking at, we have at the top that picks up on the mountain shape, and the bottom that picks up on the lakes, kind of influenced by the logo mark, and then kind of a green, and picking up on the color palette that was used for the brand there. And then in the wayfinding, picking up on those elements again, using wood posts to give it a more of a natural look and feel in the Lake Woods environment. And kind of more of a recreational feel for the parks to make it look like that. And there's some 3Ds, shape and form of the sign. And all these had vinyl, so something that could be easily replaced if needed. So then one of the things we were tasked with was also connecting to the existing city gateway. So as you are probably familiar with these signs, there's that tan and brown that's used for the letter forms in the background, and then there's also a lot of stone that's used within these gateways. So looking at those different elements and how can we incorporate them into the design. So looking at concept 5 picks up on that. Looking at using, picking up on that brown and tan color, and also the sort of the sharp angles that were used within the shapes and forms, and picking up on the red for that slim red that was used on the designs. Also using the stone within here. Just one thing to note: the stone will be more expensive to buy and to maintain, so that's something to consider with that $30,000 per sign price range. But giving an option with this concept, which is more freestanding, and then the larger ones get more of a stone base. Then the wayfinding, picking up again on those angles, and kind of a square rectangleness that's used on the identification signs. Signs in the environment. And then some 3Ds. This also uses that perforated background as well. So thinking of maintenance. In concept 6, this again picks up on the city gateway, looking at the brown and tan, how that can be used, and looking at the stone base and maybe creating an interesting shape out there that picks up on some of the angles that are used on the existing gateways. And then the wayfinding. Option in the environment, and some 3-dimensional. And last but not least, concept 7, we looked at what if we did some of the city gateway focus as well as incorporating some of the natural elements. So picking up on the tan and brown, then adding some wood elements to soften and give it more of a natural look and feel along with the stone. There's some 3-dimensional elements. One thing we also looked at, in addition of the symbols, is on the pedestrian directionals, adding distance for walking and things like that within the park, so people know how far it may be to get somewhere. Always helps promote walkability within parks. Signs in the environment, and the 3Ds. So, Stacy and Mary, do we want to do any feedback for this before I show the design committee, or do you feedback, or do you guys want me to show this, then we'll get the park board's feedback? What are your thoughts?
I would say, let's go through the presentation so you can kind of hear, because the group talked about it, through several different meetings, and so kind of see what the outcome was, and then we can clarify or go back and then hear from the group if it's remarkably different than what the committee came together with.
Okay. So, based on meeting with the design committee, the feedback was they preferred concept 1.
Did you want us to skip forward, Mary? Is that what you said?
No, he sounds like he's going in the right direction. He's giving feedback on what the group thought, and then we could come back to the park board after we've kind of showed what the design committee's recommending, and then hear what the park board thinks about it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think concepts 1 through 4, they like the combination of the blue color, the blue brand color with the natural and organic materials. It felt modern, inviting, and timeless. Concept 1 related to the existing service club sign. That was something somebody liked. There was concept 3, they liked the simplicity. And then for the signs that relate, concept 5 through 7 that related to the city gateway, they liked that there was that visual connection. And then just kind of an overall comment that where there was use of wood materials, that was preferred. The dislikes they had, concept 3, there's too many elements and pieces, and they weren't a fan of the wave pattern. Concept 4, they didn't like the green color. And then concepts 5 through 7, which are the city gateway options. The brown and stone felt too historic, not modern, and not special enough. And then just some additional comments. Using the city logo on the identification signage was not universally agreed upon. There was some concerns about the concrete and natural stone, that cost of using those items could exceed the allocated $30,000. They wanted us to explore larger parks using symbols to show what's within the park, and smaller parks to not have that. And then, noting that natural stone was a higher cost and more difficult to maintain. And then the vinyl and mesh options that were shown are more economical and easier to maintain. So there's that. And then I'll just keep going. All right. Then next.
Do you want to, go ahead.
No, I was like, we can stop and take comments for the wayfinding before we get to the Fort Steilacoom Park and things, so.
Do you want to, give some feedback on the next part? He's going to talk a little bit about wayfinding, and so, but do you want to talk a little bit about the signs? Vito, do you want to provide some thoughts, since you read the rep?
Sure. And as you can see, the likes, we're kind of scattered. We haven't landed on anything specifically. I think there's bits and pieces that people kind of favor. We did kind of land on the color. There was some comments about the brown, red. They're not as vivid, and they don't stand out. They will blend into the environment more. So we kind of shied away from that, and we kind of liked the blue color. The logo, they said that, if I remember right, it was a larger form of the logo in relation to the signs would be better, and then not do the international symbols on the entry sign, but do them next, or there's wayfinding into the park, because that's specific to that location, right? It was.
Matthew, do you want to go back to concept 1, because I do think that was what was from the committee. I think that was the concept that people liked, the shape and the size, and then again, discussion regarding the logo, is it bigger or smaller?
Right,
colored or black and white.
Yeah.
And, also that it really did kind of, because the idea of connecting to the gateway sign, this was in connection to the gateway sign, and that this would be a modern continuation of going from that formal gateway of the city to something that's like more, at a park where it's more whimsical and more outdoor and specific. So, for the shape that after several meetings of conversations about cement bases and waves and curves and arches that just felt really comfortable.
Say that shape exactly matches the, 5 signs we're putting up in the wildlife area in 2 weeks.
Oh, nice, yeah. There you, so you did all that without any consultation, good for you.
We had nothing to match yet.
Yeah.
And so we went with what we thought was aesthetic and pleasing. The arch top really is soft to look at, gives you lots of opportunities to put whatever you want on it. We didn't do screen backs because they're all, laminate pieces. There's blue and there's green backgrounds because we're in a wildlife area too, and these are actually mounted on a 45-degree, so they're on the ADA trail, so wheelchair people can read them and see them if they're.
Couple comments that I would have are, I like that it matches kind of our service club sign. I like the arch top and the natural materials on the sign. I agree on the monument signs. I don't know that international symbols make sense. I'd be curious on the monument sign whether or not you would want the address on there. If that makes sense. I don't know. There's a case to be made for having it and not having it. And then I also remember in previous discussions when we were talking about the entry monuments into the city that I thought we were going away from using the city kind of logo because it wasn't necessarily as recognizable or didn't have that. And so to see it play a prominent role is just different to what I've heard in the past on our sign discussions. So, but I think anything, if you were going to keep it to go bigger would be a little bit better to bring. I think you did great work and it was nice. I like concept one.
I like the idea of having some of the I'm glad we're not having stone, because as a ecologist, drive around this town, I go, not needed. These stones did not come from here.
Well, if they get tagged, they're awesome. They're clean.
Yeah, I get it.
Except for Lakeville.
And the porch looking fence, yeah.
I think those are, yeah.
Those are so iconic of Lakewood. Those potatoes, but.
Did you have any thoughts regarding the signs, what you liked or didn't like, or? All right, well, from the sign perspective, we're gonna be sharing with council in October, I believe, October 30th. And so as a board, would you be, able to collectively, or Anessa, is Anessa still there? Anessa, did you have any feedback? I heard on earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she had to.
Sorry, no, I was muted. No, I agree with what was said. I think that the stone and just what was said by Alan and all that, I agree absolutely with that.
Great, thanks. Would this board then be able to forward, we'll show council all of the same type of presentation, but would the board be open to saying that they would be recommending concept one with some adjustments based on logo, bigger, smaller, or none, logos on the bottom, probably not, but maybe on the wayfinding, things like that, but just, we'd have more work on it, but that way we're focusing all of our energy on one sign versus 6 or 7 concepts.
I'll make a recommendation that concept one is to move forward with concept one as our priority. Some minor modifications.
How do you feel about that, being our council rep? Is this something that you're comfortable with us moving forward with? Okay.
You're here to make recommendations.
Yeah,
Right,
council can do what they want.
Yeah, of course, yes, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
all right, great. All right.
I happen to agree with the comments.
Oh,
That's
good.
one person. I think international symbols on the entry itself doesn't do anything to anybody.
Yeah.
You're driving by them, and then anyway, now where's the picnic table?
Yeah, I agree.
So
I
why you're not
agree.
gonna go back out on the street and look
Yeah.
at the sign?
Thank you. All right, Matthew, that's great. Are you still there?
Perfect.
You wanna
I'm
move
still
on
here.
then to- Okay, so let's move on to, then.
Real quick, we got a first and a second, all in favor of moving concept forward, concept one forward? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we got unanimous approval to move number one forward.
Okay, that's great. Now let's jump into Fort Silica main entry identification.
Okay. Before we jump into this, I just do want to preface that, these are concepts, some of these designs are based off on, to connect with some of the previous concepts, but whatever concept is chosen, more development will be done for the entry sign to work with that chosen concept by council. So just so you guys are aware, these, this is just kind of meant to reflect what could be, and more development will be done once council chooses direction. So just want to make that clear. All right. Similar to kind of the entry, the identification signs and wayfinding has the theme. So kind of this one connects to brand and natural elements. This is concept one, creating sort of a large vertical entries as you enter the park. I'll have a scene of where these signs will be located in 1 second. Again, this picks up on that perforation and the blue color, as well as using large wood beams, give it more of a natural look and feel. Also looking at the ability to add banners onto these signs. We know Fort Steilacoom Park is a regional destination for people, not just people within the city. And they come from far and wide. So if there's certain events or things going on, you can promote them or have the ability to do that on the banners themselves. So this is kind of the new entry point with the new roundabout. These two vertical elements would be on the bookends of each side as you would enter within the park, identifying Fort Steilacoom Park, but also City of Lakewood, because as discussed, it's a regional destination. Concept two focuses on the city gateway sign, so picking up on the squareness and the tans and the browns and the stone. Then we also looked, what if there, is a 2 banner system that could be used, just a thought to explore and seeing how that is as you enter the park. Concept 3 also has a city gateway focus, kind of the tans and browns and stone and the large angle kind of angling towards you entering the park, and looking at use of banners as well in this design. In the environment. Concept 4, city gateway and a natural focus. So the combination of wood, stone, the brown and tan, and the use of banners. So in concept 5, we wanted to look at the sort of the brand and natural focus again, maybe something a little new that's not as fully connected to the signs. So looking at large wood posts with maybe a sort of a partial archway that connects as you could drive under, and then the banners being used there. And concept 5B, kind of similar, but getting rid of the arches and just doing some simple vertical wood posts with some blue blue structures at the bottom to hold that within there, and uses the banner system. This is more of a simplistic approach, but has a nice clean look and picks up kind of focuses more the visual on the park itself as you enter. So the design committee's feedback that we received, they like concept 1, 5A, 5B, because the combination similar to the before, the combination of the blue brand color, the natural organic materials, modern, inviting, and timeless. They preferred 5B, but didn't have the arches. They felt modern and doesn't conflict with sight distance into the park. For concepts 2 to 4, they liked that they connected to the existing city gateways. Concept 3 felt grand, but had no relation to the blue brand, and the use of wood materials was like. Dislikes did not like concept 5A because you cannot large vehicles or trucks. If you drove under there, could be an issue. I know they even said they had some issues with larger trucks there recently, so that was a large concern. And similar to the wayfinding elements, the brown and stone felt too historic, not modern, and not special enough. Some additional comments: whatever design is chosen needs to relate to the parkway finding signage direction. Landscaping will be included in the design once a direction is chosen. Prefer options without hangover elements, so large vehicles don't damage the sign. And there was concern that visitors may have a hard time reading vertical type, and kind of what's used on some of the options. So that was the feedback from the committee. Design committee.
Had vertical type though, didn't they?
Except for the one with the
Except for the one that let the trucks through.
Yeah.
But it's also just the placement of the sign. In their PDF there, they've got their signpost in an area where it could be set back because it's an arch and it has room and it's not gonna get hit by a truck. So those are minor adjustments, but I'm back to the horizontal. We don't read this way. It was just my personal feeling.
There's something I liked about the arch, it reminds me of Roosevelt Arch and going into Yellowstone Park, but I also understand those concerns, but having it set back, you make a great point there.
In another location, but you still be able to read.
See it related very much with the wayfinding signs and all of that. Although I have a different part of my heart and my brain that says you've got the big monument sign for Fort Silicon Park less than a half block away, and some of those color types and those concepts seem to match because they're in such close proximity. And to me, I want it to be grand, and I want you to, when you drive by the monument, to feel like you're coming into a special place, because it is a special place for this community.
Are you saying that the monument conflicts with this?
Well, I like the red colors to match with the monument because of they're such close proximity to each other, but that's not the concept that we voted on as a board for kind of the color and palette,
For
so.
the wayfinding,
So that to me, then that contradicts, and you wouldn't wanna do that, but like I say, I like bits and pieces of all of it, and there's a way to find a compromise here on it. I'm saying what I like, and.
That was feedback from the group, is that for just that, this one spot, that those gateway type, it looks like it would match, but then it was, when you start looking at your wayfinding and stuff, there's not gonna be a connection to people. So it could be a way of introducing this new, style and color to, community is through that signage.
As much as I like the arch portion, and maybe more of a natural wood color, and it would feel more natural than kind of that blue, definitely attracts your eye. But you need it at the top there, I guess. I like that the banners can be associated with it too, that's a great addition.
And you can leave the hole big enough, you can literally leave the whole street open.
Right.
And still read it like he says,
Yep.
Placement of those pillars and so forth.
Yeah.
Maybe an unintended consequence. I don't know exactly what that angle is. Generally, where the sun is in the afternoon, summer when people are going to the park. So if you're looking up at the sign, you may not be able to read it. It may be that it's far enough more west as opposed to southwest, and the sun is south at that time of year. I don't know.
My concern is the element of, can we throw something over it? Can we hook something onto it? Can we swing from it? Can we get up there?
And I'm just thinking, the further you put it back, which there is not tons of space there, but the further you put it back, you start losing that connection of an arch, and then it's more like a, I don't know.
Half-take flag, yeah. Yep, no,
And I like the vertical, because it's so simple.
Banners can have some color, and there will be landscaping, so it will be a prettier, environment.
An additional point that Tangram had made, and I don't wanna speak for them, so Matthew, if you wanna reiterate your point that you'd previously made, that, really these are just punctuating kind of a sense of arrival, because we do have the Gateway Monument at the intersection that maybe you're sitting in your car and you can clearly read, the horizontal text that no one's necessarily gonna be stopping to read the signs, but it's giving you a cue that you're in the right place, you're arriving, and, behind this, we would have additional supporting wayfinding signage immediately for the ball fields and for the.
Right.
The new traffic circle does actually help people find the
Yeah.
entrance. In the past, you know, okay, finally, you know, I see Fort Silicon Park sign, now I'm coming down to this weird little three-way, five-way, left, right, forward, side. So, so the gateway does, or the traffic circle does help you at least know where to go, and then this would, whatever gets put there, help you say, I'm here. And so,
And to reiterate the concern of a large vehicle hitting anything, yes, we have a construction project for the ball fields happening, and we've already had 2 incidents with turning radius. These plants and curb have been run over and the irrigation crushed, twice within the span of a week and a half, so. It's a tight number, large.
And even without construction, we have dump trucks, bucket trucks, semi trucks, all kinds of giant rigs that do come in and around this.
And just because this picture's up, I have to make a note, because we were talking about pavement, paint, and crossings, and that would be an ideal place for.
Isn't that great? Oh,
there you go.
But, yeah, you've got your pedestrian crossing
Right there, too.
Great stuff.
yeah.
Traffic calm.
Traffic calm,
What you
yeah.
got?
Pretty tight right there, but yeah, that's cute.
All right. Well, if there's no more on this, I could hop to the, because I don't think we're looking for a, unless you guys, Stacy and Mary, I don't know if we're looking for a because kind of like I said before, whatever wayfinding gets chosen is gonna dictate, or whatever park identification and wayfinding gets chosen is kind of gonna dictate the final design. But I think all your, what's that? Go ahead.
I would say yes, that's true. However, because we did have the different, you know, we had the gateway, I think that it'd be nice if this group had a consensus, not necessarily final design, so to speak, but consensus regarding this type of, like with the wood and the blue, versus the stone and the brown. So that would be nice just from a directional perspective. Let council know this is what we're recommending,
Yeah,
so.
what number is this one here?
This is number one.
Concept 5B, I believe.
Vito, if on that type of
5A,
sign, if the letters were turned
I think
90
5A.
degrees, would that make it better for you
That's
to
what I was
read it?
asking.
And that, I feel that's how would make it easier
I
for me.
would try that.
Yeah.
I would try that.
Yeah.
Just turn the letters so
Not-
that they're reading vertical,
Right.
but they're
Rather than
turned.
have it turn your head
Instead of,
sideways,
like,
right.
It says board,
Yeah.
like a Scrabble.
Yeah,
board.
exactly.
We've read.
So
I guess
so
I'll
So
it'd be-
instead of,
Rotate them 90 degrees
Yeah.
90
counterclockwise.
Got it, so okay, I'm
Video,
understanding. Like, now I see what you mean by transparent, like,
Yeah, Scrabble board crossword.
I got it, yeah. But as you said, there's, all of these will have more real design. This is conceptual, so that once we kind of really look at the location and the style, then
And I think this matches the other one we chose, probably the best, and like I say, that all this is if you're past this sign, it better not be dark. You're now in the park.
Yep.
To me, the only comment I would make on this one is it feels like a lot of blue right there when you're entering the park, and when I come to a park, blue is not, sky is blue, but it's not the first color I associate with parks, and down a little bit. My personal comment. Yeah, I hear ya, I hear ya.
Feels like
I'm
a
with you, I
path
get it.
of brush.
We'll talk, yeah.
It'd be great for both.
So would it be safe to say though, that at least like Mary, what you're getting at, that you kind of prefer the blue brand and the natural look rather than this connection to the city gateway? Would that be something I could assume?
A lot of nodding right now, yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure that's included then. Awesome. All right, we're almost done. We're getting close, everybody. So then the last thing we were tasked with was designing electronic media centers that'd be placed around the city. So similar to the Fort Silicon Park entry sign, whatever park identification and wayfinding concept is chosen will be directed towards the electronic media center. Signs. Yeah, there you go.
Like Wi-Fi hotspots, what are we talking about?
Library.
So for concept one, this picks up on the blue and the arch that from one of the original concept one in the park identification signs. Looking at using a stone base and some wood sidings. These digital reader boards get pretty heavy, so having a substantial base at the bottom would be pretty important. So that's why we chose to use the stone for these kind of options. Then also putting the city of Lakewood at the top of the sign. Concept 2A, again, brand focus. This square shape, picking up on the kind of wood angles that would be used, and has a stone base as well. Concept 2B, a little bit similar, but more of a large, this would probably have to be some sort of metal structure that's painted brown, or we could also do things with faux wood that makes it look like wood, even though it's metal. So it provides that strength that the metal would give to the sign to hold up the reader boards. Again, picking up on the angle of the mount shape. And lastly, concept 3, picking up on the city gateway elements with the stone base and the brown and tan colors. So then the feedback we received from the design committee, concept 1, they liked that it related to the concept 1, which for the park sign concepts, which was their preferred direction. They like concept 1A, 2A, and 2B with the combination of the blue brand and natural organic elements. And then concept 3, that it connected to the existing city gateways and the use of wood, or the appearance of wood. And then just their comment, whatever design is chosen needs to relate to the park wayfinding and identification signs. So.
The reader board stick to the under $30,000 budget? And that's right, I kind of knew the answer, I just had to ask.
There's a separate budget for those, and when we looked at it, besides doing the park signs, we expanded the scope because that was an ARPA funded project, and we wanted to get some consistency and needed to move forward within a time period. So we added that to that, and the communications was the department that was staffed to work on reader boards, and they really needed some support, and so that's why it was a good natural fit, and as it's going to be identified throughout the community. So
how many reader boards are we having?
I think council budgeted for 2, with the idea of replacing the police station one as well. And so the locations haven't been specified yet, but the idea is it could be something that's added to depending on, is it emergency access, is it tourism, those are kind of 2 different criteria for where you would put them, right? So
Planning to have all our reader boards in the city eventually design as our parkway.
Well, from a consistency perspective and a branding perspective, you want people to know, oh, that's not church, it's the city. And really, although they can be used for things like Summerfest is coming, or donate blood today, or whatever, it's like, if there's an emergency, and right now the only reader board we have is at the police station, and it's such old technology, they bought it out of a box, that you have to be there with a keyboard, and it's like, Vito's the only one that really knows how to make it work, and Jason's the one that's actually in the building that's able to modify it, so,
It was how they are, yeah, reality.
Don't move,
It was
don't die.
They changed, it was forfeit, it was
Get up
every 5 years.
Yeah.
forfeiture money, so, yeah.
Don't use drugs on it.
Yeah, so it had to say don't treat drugs. Yeah, so this might say, be emergency prepared, so I don't know, but, I think this was the concept because that most, I think, agreed with. It had that strong base. It really was another connection from the gateways to the service club sign to our
And you can lose the rock. You can lose the rock, all you need is one of the wood-like steel beams on the bottom that matches your wood.
Yeah.
Real wood, I mean, as much as I because it's a base and it's natural wood. I think natural wood is always metal. Northwest.
Was there a question? Was there a question for us?
We're making a motion to move, concept 1 forward, it sounds like.
Okay.
Want a second? Vito, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
There's Vanessa.
Opposed? No.
Okay, so that's great, and, thank you, Matthew, and George has been kind of on the side, is the quiet person on the side, but it's late in Colorado, and we appreciate you, being up and sticking with us throughout this meeting, and they've been a good team to work with. George is actually from Lakewood. I don't know if you remember that from the beginning, but he grew up in Lakewood and left. And so he does appreciate coming home and not recognizing how to get anywhere because the signage is not great. So that is, that's been good for, just his, familiarity with the community and how, and then his professional support has been great. So we appreciate your work and, thank you for sticking with us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. It was a pleasure, and we like working for you guys. So we could stay up another hour. We could have done that. No, just kidding. But thank you. It was a pleasure. So
Great.
thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Yes. Oh, good. Thank you.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
for all your hard work.
Mhm.
All right, we're on to your director's report.
Well, it's late, so I just want, we finished out the summer strong. It was, amazing summer with lots of events. The farmer's market just grew with participation. The concerts really upped their game. We added some concerts, and that was really great. And just that if you weren't able to participate in the last event that we did, which was the Festival de la Familia, it was really a celebration of our Hispanic, community and culture, and, it was so wonderful. In fact, they talked about it last night with the Arts Commission, met with the council, how wonderful it was, to celebrate, part of our community that, just really highlighted their, participation and just to see the families and the kids and what people came and just wore. They really were proud to be there, and, I think we're proud of the event that we had, and music and food and cultural and art, and it was really a great event. So it was a beautiful day, so, wonderful. And got a lot of recognition nationally. We had the, Consul General from Mexico here, and he spent a lot of time here with his wife. They just enjoyed it immensely. They were at the park. We were able to do the ribbon cutting at the mural, which was done by Hispanic artists, and it was also National Hispanic Month, so there were just so many great ties. He just was amazed at the event that we put on, and they want to be more engaged, maybe even from a friendship city, sister city, and just bringing more attention to our community. So again, we are strategic when we start doing things to recognize parts of our community, and those relationships, like everything we do in Lakewood, is really so important that we can start with planting seeds, and then those relationships really grow, and then it becomes something even bigger and better. Because we, of course, have limited capacity, but then you bring, many hands make light work, and really make for a spectacular event. So, really good. Yeah, it was a good event to be proud of.
Pictures,
Yeah.
really good.
So anyway, we can, capital projects are going. Stacy's doing an amazing job. We have very complicated and large capital projects that are being designed and in various stages of permitting and trying to move forward. So, that's been great. We are holding off on some of our smaller projects until we can get some additional support, which we've been budgeted, just finding that support, so, that we need to kind of make those projects move forward, so.
Board member comments?
I have a comment. I went by the restroom building at Fort Seligam, the one that's painted. It's great.
Yeah.
It really is
Yeah.
classy.
I think our idea is to maybe start doing that, because the signal boxes are done, and that's really brought art and culture and identity to neighborhoods that might not have beautification areas, right? And so that's been great, and those are vinyl, so, I think when they talked about vinyl on the signs, they are easy to be maintained and replaced for pretty economical. So the idea is like the other one that's our first one over by the baseball field, like, couldn't that be sporty, right? Do something rapid, but have it be something more sports themed. And then maybe some of our other parks too, so that's cool, so.
And the signal light wraps are just, as you drive around Lakewood, you go, oh my gosh, look at that. And before, you'd look at this metal box and
That had tagging on it.
Monstrosity.
So it really does.
City of Tacoma did the same thing. They did wraps, and they went over.
Yeah, they're pretty affordable, and so we put 20 in. We started with 10, we did 10 this year in a mural, and I think council's very supportive of it too, so I see that as continuing to to grow, and, yeah, it's a cool program.
I like that, I feel like the art here is better than some of the other cities
Yeah.
that I've been, that I've seen.
That Arts Commission that votes on that?
Yeah, Arts Commission's been really doing a lot more work, and they, you know, like any group, you have really excited and enthusiastic members that are really focused on one area, and this is a really pretty, broad group of folks that represent different interest areas, and so they've been pushing, you know, different kinds of things, so they have a good process in place. We have a good partner with, Print Northwest, and, I'm gonna go grab those boards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But anyway, so that's my report. I'd love to hear Bridget, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but maybe, you know, with the youth council, it's nice to have you here, maybe just talk a little bit about, she's new to the
Yeah,
youth
we're
council.
super happy to have you.
Yeah, so, wanna just share like who you are, we've all been together for 100 years, so, just,
I'm Bridget Holbrook. I started the youth council this year. I am a freshman at CP, and I do extracurriculars at the youth council.
So what are some of your interests? We were talking about art, do you do art or?
I do band, cross-country, track, and I want to start bowling this year.
Oh, wow.
What do you play in band?
I play percussion.
Yeah.
awesome.
You're not a quiet person.
Yeah, for a percussionist, they're always
She's
quiet.
here, but
But we
yeah.
want your input and
Make the
value
most
your
noise.
input, and so, don't ever be afraid to speak up and give us your opinion, because your
Like,
opinion matters.
I hate that design, I wouldn't put that anywhere. I really want it to be, you know, so to feel free, we're a very, close and informal group, but, we appreciate your input for sure. Just to follow up with those things, so, Print Northwest again, great company that we work with, we have the system down. When we started, we would do like one, but now we recognize, and you have this ugly one next to it, so now we wrap more than one.
Okay.
And they were a sponsor at the event, and so what they did is they put these boards together, because we really had a big art focus at this event. So they put a board together of all of our different signal boxes, so if you wanna take a look, you might not have seen them all, because maybe you don't get out and about too much, but I'll put these over here so you can look at them before you leave. But it's cool, because they, you know, it's really, I'm gonna put these. But anyway, you can just take a look at the variety. Again, we started with some local artists. We have one student from Harrison Prep that was our first student, and he won best of, or fan favorite. His box was fan favorite at the event. We had a everybody vote which one was their fan favorite, and that was Sam Reed, right? Where is Sam? He must be on that one over here.
Is it Stephen Ray? Oh, no. I think it might be wrong on there. I think that's Sam.
I think both of the
Oh, you think that
boxes.
one's Sam?
Mhm.
That was
the
Sam,
fan
and then
favorite.
also the one in the corner, number 14 over there.
And which one was the fan favorite, do you
Oh,
remember?
they say Stephen, but this should be Sam.
Yeah, I really thought it was Sam. Oh, well, sorry about that. But we started, you know, Susan Hall is a local artist,
Yeah.
and so we kind of started that, and then we looked at how we could add, especially in some neighborhoods that has a heavy Hispanic population or Asian population, you know, putting in the art that would be important for their community and their family. So, you know, we're kind of strategic there. So anyway, I'll just let you look at them on the way out. In case you haven't found it, it could be a scavenger hunt, right?
Yeah, yeah. And, or you can use it for, hints and clues for other
Yeah.
games that you play.
Yeah, so it's fun. We had more comments about this, Scott was saying, and these cute raccoons, that they
Oh,
think was
yeah.
a fan favorite of Nikki. So,
I had 4 in my yard last night.
I was like, we have raccoons here. They should get a raccoon from it.
We are
A
cute.
coyote in my backyard as I was leaving.
Oh,
Had to chase off.
maybe you
Looking
can
at my
bring
chickens.
bring him over to get the rabbit.
Yeah.
oh my goodness. All right.
I was sent with a comment from my family that, kudos to staff, extra special thanks for the concert series and tying it to the farmer's market. The 3 of them, my family were at all of them and enjoyed them immensely and thought that, really stepped up this year, you know. And then I would just like to apologize to the board for my many absences recently, and special thank you to Vito for filling in, just the demands of my current position.
Okay.
Are demanding. We got you covered.
Anything about the truck pull that you wanted us to know? Truck
Truck and
Tractor
Tractor Day?
Sorry, Truck and Tractor Day.
Well,
Not
Truck and Tractor Day is coming up, and, no, it's a great event, it's family friendly. It'll be similar to what we've done before. There's food and activities. Every family gets a free pumpkin. There's pumpkin chunking, a big slingshot. You get to shoot little pumpkins out in the field.
Fantastic.
2 years ago, the guys were moving stuff. They spilled a giant pile of dirt. And so we bought all the Tonkas and Barbie cars and things and, threw them on top of the pile of dirt. And it was one of the most important things, or the fan favorite, so to speak, at the event. So,
Pile of dirt and.
pile of dirt and a Tonka
Big
truck. So,
boys.
yeah, so that was really fun. And I think, I put 12 or 14 out there. I think I bought everything I could find at Walmart. And then none of them were taken. They all stayed there. So I was pretty impressed with that. So they'll be back. So, yeah, so,
You remember Lori Flem.
yeah.
So, at one of our parks, Garfield Park, which is on the north end of town, she was doing a playground replacement, and she put in a pile of dirt just for part of the construction.
Yeah.
They played on that pile of dirt more than they played on the playground.
Yep. We had that at Washington Boulevard when we were building the playground in the back, and so we were putting in a trail system so you could get from the ball field, because that's what was just there to the back. And there's this giant mound of dirt, and kids just played on that for months until we could get everything moved, so.
We were at Camping Seacrest Park last weekend, and they have a permanent dirt pile by their playground. And it's got paths and everybody plays on it.
Yeah, that's fun, so, yeah.
Good, kids don't get a chance to do that in their
Right.
yard.
And there's really not a fall problem.
No.
Right, you're gonna roll down the hill,
Roll down,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, so anyway, but no, that's coming up, and I think that's on October 14th, so I think noon to 3-ish, something like that, yeah.
Board member comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Good with motion, anyone want a second? Janet, all in favor?
Aye.
I will say, we're all done now, we can talk.
Thanks,
Good night, Anessa.
See
Thanks
you
for
later,
jumping in.
guys. Thank you, no problem.